Shake it up. Get straight. Go forward. Move ahead.
Folks, it's Rebecca again. This show is completely sold out, so please fill in, sit next to a stranger, make a new friend, please fill in the front rows, and the show will be getting started soon.
Look what you're doing. I'm not good at your will. All life's not the same, say it down. Look at what it's doing. With its best vision, it's just coming around. My business is a spin by the intended to see wind up like no way to control it. Stop the lies I'm mad. Wherever you're around. I want to let go of it. Really automatic. I will not
Hello, my friends. It's Saturday night at the Cicada. Yes. Now keep on top of those hands for your host for the evening, DJ.
I said, how are you doing tonight? It's Saturday night. You're here supporting live theater. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming. As Rebecca said, my name is Deej, and I'm so happy to be your host for the evening at the Cicada, a night of live storytelling in Kismet Improv. Normally what we do here at Kismet, we're making stuff up and we're being silly and goofy and telling jokes. Tonight, we're telling real stories and sharing in a human experience that you don't really get to have a lot of the time. So I feel grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be here with all of you. Give yourselves another round of applause. We have an excellent lineup of storytellers tonight who are going to share some stories, but before that I want to get some logistics out of the way just to make sure that we're all on the same page, okay? So out that door, down the hall, to the left, that's where your bathroom's at, okay? So if you need to go to the bathroom, you can go at any time. In case of any emergency or if you need to exit, there's a door right there. There's also a door through this curtain. We'll save that for emergencies if we need it, but there's your door if you need anything. Welcome in, come on in. Give it up for the bar in the back. We have a bar in the back. Run by two very kind people, so tip your bartenders. Yeah, just welcome to our space. So this is our fourth time doing this, and I was actually the host the first time that we ever did it, and I was sharing with Randy. He creates this thing. And I was sharing how nervous I was to host it the first time. Kind of like what I said before, I'm used to being like, fake and a silly person up here. So I was a little nervous for how people would respond. And what I found doing the show was like this really overwhelming positive experience, right? Of people just dedicating their time to come and listen and share and experience. And so I want to continue that tonight. We're sharing stories. Some will make us laugh. Some will make us cry. Some will make us feel inspired, right? So please be respectful to the people that are coming up here and sharing their stories. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to come up here on a mic and be honest and transparent with everybody. So if you have, if you support them, they're going to support you, right? So let's do that. Can we get a round of applause for that? So, without further ado, we have some of our storytellers back there. I want to bring up this first storyteller if we're ready to go. The first storyteller that we're going to hear tonight, her name is Faith. Give it up for Faith.
A lot of people say the college was the time of their lives. It's a time to learn and grow while also gaining newfound independence and experiences. Sometimes these experiences are not what you would expect. I had a few of these during my time in college at Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts in the far northwest corner of Massachusetts. One such experience was when I was a sophomore in the fall of 2015. My campus was small and had 3 different housing areas. Students were required to live on campus until their senior year. So in 2015, I was living in a dorm. The day started off like any other. I got up, had breakfast, and headed to my classes for the day. As I was heading back to my dorm after my classes, I got a notification on my phone saying everyone who resided in my dorm was to head to the school's gym. Our dorm was being evacuated, and we were told it was a hazmat situation. The students that came in contact with a possible contaminant were isolated from the rest of the students. This ended up being almost 30 people. We were also told that if any of us had a medication in the dorms, to let the staff in charge know. They would notify the fire department. I had medication for my mental health, but it wasn't the end of the world if I didn't get it right away. However, my roommate takes medication for seizures, so she couldn't miss a dose. Fortunately, the firefighters went room by room and got all the medication everyone requested. I was texting my mom about the situation, and mentioned I was not feeling the greatest. I had a sore throat and a stuffy nose. She suggested I ask someone in charge what symptoms we should be looking out for related to the hazmat situation. I did just that, but instead of getting an answer, I was put in isolation from the rest of the students. I was sent to sit with the rest of the isolated students in a closed-off hallway next to the bathrooms. I am now sitting on the floor eating pizza that those in charge brought in for us. We were all wondering what is going on. The person in charge walks in and says we have to remove all our clothes and then hands us a I'm thinking, what's this? This is problem number 1. I unroll the bundle and see it's a paper-thin, slightly stretchy hazmat disposable coveralls that had a zipper in the front that goes from your crotch all the way to your neck. I look at the ones in my hand. I am not confident these are going to fit me because I am plus size, but I am informed that these are the largest size that they have. I look around and notice I'm not the only plus size person in the room either. I'm thinking how ridiculous this is, because I probably just have a cold. I go into the small stall and take everything off. Through a variety of contortions, I get this suit on after elbowing the wall multiple times. The moment of truth is if it zips. I unconsciously suck in my stomach and pull the zipper up. It closes. I put my clothes, my phone, and my backpack in a bag, and I seal it. I then seal up. I slowly walk out of the bathroom, thinking any sudden movement will rip the snug suit. I feel like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I exit the building and follow the people in front of me to a group of vans. Apparently, I'm going to the closest big hospital, which is about 30 minutes away. I grab the handle and start to step into the van. I hear a tearing sound and then feel some cold air on my nether regions. I freeze. Problem number 2. My suit just ripped. Now remember, I just took everything off, including my underwear. I slowly sit down in a seat, trying to keep my legs closed. It is dark out, so I'm not too worried about being seen while in the van. On the drive, we were laughing about me and another girl's ripped crotches. I even tell everyone I told them it would be too small. We arrive at the hospital and everyone is piling out, and I'm sitting there with my ripped crotch thinking, yeah, I'm good here. The other student is with me on that. Problem number 3. After a few minutes, we are given towels to cover ourselves with. I then head into the hospital. I capitalize on the crotch rip and manage to get a private exam room while other students have to sit in the waiting room. I am given blood and urine tests and also a nice pair of scrubs so I can get rid of the ripped hazmat suit. I'm actually wearing those scrubs today. I go into the bathroom to get the urine sample and change into scrubs. The stupid door does not lock right. Suddenly, as I am standing there naked, the door opens. Problem number 4. A male student is walking in and he freezes in shock. He profusely apologizes and backs out. Truthfully, I think he was more embarrassed about the situation than I was. The nurse comes in with my test results and informs me I'm dehydrated and have a low-grade temperature. The medical team determines I need an IV for hydration. Apparently, this isn't connected to the hazmat situation. I'm just lucky to be here. As far as I know, no one else had any issues. Once my IV is done, we all pile back into the vans and head back to campus. We didn't get back to campus until around midnight, and it was pouring rain. The van driver drove across the grass and sidewalk to pull us up to the gym entrance. Once we got into the gym, I noticed there are rows and rows of cots, the kind that are brought out when natural disasters hit. This is where I would be sleeping tonight. But first, I need to make a call about not being able to make it to work tomorrow. I worked at the local grocery store. The issue was I didn't have my cell phone because that was confiscated when I got my clothes and backpack taken away. I ended up borrowing a friend's phone to make the call. Of course, I seem to have forgotten that the store closes at 9 p.m. and didn't open until 7 a.m. Luckily, there were night workers there who stopped and rearranged the store and who answered the call when I called. I left a message for my manager. With that complete, I went to bed. The next morning, I still didn't have my backpack, and we were still not allowed in the dorm. I was also still wearing the scrubs. Again, no underwear. Problem number 208. They had a meeting later in the day to explain what was going on. The hazmat teams were still investigating what went on, and the dorm was going to remain closed. Some students went home until the dorm reopened, like my roommate did. Others, like me, stayed and were given rooms in different dorms to stay in. I stayed in a dorm which had a whole floor closed due to a low number of residential students. Around this time, I got my backpack and my clothes back. I was lucky because I was coming back from classes with my backpack and we were displaced. So I now had a lot of my books, my computer, my notebooks, and pens and pencils. During this, we were still expected to head to class, even if a lot of students didn't have clothes or access to their books and computers. The school did set up a place for those of us displaced, to get some clothes and toiletries we needed. This lasted about 3 or so days before we were let back into the dorm, but we were never officially told what caused the situation. However, some information got around that it was due to someone trying to make meth on a hot plate and the residue got in the air vents. This was not an experience I expected to have when I was in college, but it taught me and many others to always be prepared for the unexpected. Because after this, everyone in the dorm had a to-go bag that they would grab every time the fire alarm went off, just in case they were ever displaced for days again.
Just by a show of hands, how many people were in a dorm in college? How many people? Yeah, I don't think I will ever tell anyone my dorm experience was bad ever again. After hearing that, so I think I'm good. Thank you for sharing that story, Kate. Our next speaker, who's coming up, is going to also tell us a story. Please give it up for Sheree.
We're all surprised. A few days back, I had dinner with a friend I hadn't seen in months. While getting in the car, still sunny from cackling and connection, my little sister reached out for a catch-up. It was lovely. We caught up over her boyfriend's uncle's memorial. I'm the middle of three girls. Janessa's the oldest, she's about 3 years older than me, and Shantae is the youngest, about 5 years younger. Shantae and I text each other for permission to call. It's a thing we've done since we've rebuilt our relationship. The calls aren't often, but deeply enjoyable. When we were younger, I hated her. I don't think she hated me until about middle school, though. My hatred was hot and mean, and hers was cold and dismissive. She had everything I didn't. An easy, genuine smile, the adoration of my family, and an easily measured waistline. Shantae brought delight, and I brought size. I was jealous of every molecule in her very being. What really made me hate her, though, was the fact that she got to live with our parents. Our parents were addicts. And I firmly believe that addiction is a disease, curable, but a disease. And because of their addictions, Janessa, the older, and I lived with our grandparents. Our parents were more like the shitty aunt and uncle that babysat when our real parents had to work. As a kid, I hated that I couldn't do any of the things my friends did because I had to keep the facade of a perfect family life. Church on Sundays, polite to all adults, good grades, no bullies. It felt like a full-time job where the only benefits were shelter, some of the best Southern food you've ever had in your life, and a Nintendo at Christmas. That's how old I am. Then Shantae came around, and our parents just stopped using. It was sunny, and we couldn't talk about it. As a kid, I believed that our parents always could have stopped. They just needed to wait for the right reason. It wasn't me. It wasn't Janessa. Shantae, however, was powerful enough to stop decades-long hard drug addictions before she could even walk. Of course, the family loved her. She moved in with our parents about 7 or 8 years old. She got her own room, an allowance, 2 sober parents, and a cat. I wanted a cat ever since I learned what a cat was. I have 2 now, don't worry about it. My jealousy started asking questions. Why'd they clean up for her? Why am I still living with my grandparents? Why don't they go to my softball games? I was not very good at softball, so they did not listen to me. I asked our parents these questions, and they fed me easy lies and half-truths. And I knew it was bullshit, but at that point I was callous over. My hatred became casual. Maybe it wasn't hatred, but an absence of love. Shantae was my younger sister, and my role was to keep her alive. And anything beyond that was above my pay grade. She had her own life, her own friends. We didn't really engage with each other unless we had to, like cousins. Turns out, while I was jealous, Shantae was trapped in my shadow. High school for me was a means of escape. I joined committees, sports, theater, anything to ensure that I stayed out of my house as long as possible. When it came time to think about post-high school, I just wanted out from under my grandparents' authoritarian rule, my parents' toxic relationship, my suffocating small town, where my family knew everyone, and I couldn't exist without it being reported back. I worked my ass off to be attractive to any college that would take me, and I wound up at Rutgers. I lived on campus. It was a 20-minute walk from my grandparents' house, but I was free-ish. Wasn't truly free until I came to the glorious state of Rhode Island. What I didn't know was that my parents and grandparents were weaponizing my academic Shawshank Redemption. Whenever Janessa and I succeeded, the spotlight would be that much brighter on Shantae. She was smothered by my albeit successful trauma response. Her imprisonment started asking questions. Why did you go to the same high school as Sheree and Janessa? Why aren't you in committees and theater, etc.? Like Sheree. Sheree and Janessa did X, why don't you do that? They didn't go to her games either. And she was actually fucking good. Shantae moved to Maryland with her partner a few days after my wedding, and we talked about once a year. We were adults with our own lives. And my childhood hatred faded over time. I don't think I really ever hated her. I think I just hated the family system we were both in. After our mother died, she disappeared. She was the closest to our mother out of all three of us, so I assumed she was drowning in her own complicated grief, like I was. All three of us established support systems outside of the family, so I knew she was held by her own support system, like I was, like Janessa was. Our relationship started to build after a few weeks. First, we stayed in touch because I handled the logistics around our mother's gravestone. Surreal. Next, a few surface level texts. And then out of the blue, she called me, deeply upset about her marriage. Now this was new. We sisters learned to never talk about our spouses and to never be vulnerable, especially around family. But I listened. I told her I trusted in her ability to make the right decision. The conversation lasted about 3 hours, and we hung up, and I sat there drained. On rare occasions, you get the privilege of knowing that you're experiencing a very important moment while you're still in it. And usually you don't know how important that moment is until you're looking back. A few months after that call, Shantae told me she loved me. And I said it back. But between that call and our most recent catch-up, we began untangling the lies that our parents wove around us. Shantae was isolated. She had one ambivalent sister and one openly hostile. And she was expected to be the carbon copy of both of us. While living with my parents, she got a front row seat to their imploding relationship. She felt the heat, the darkness, and the loneliness of two people who lived to hurt each other but couldn't live without each other. She started building her own family with long-standing relationships that last to this day. She became hyper-independent, stopped trusting anyone related to her. I do trust her, but I don't blame her at all. I don't know what made Shantae trust me again. Maybe I softened with age. Maybe she did. Maybe she was desperate and I just happened to be there. I haven't asked. I'm afraid of the answer. The memorial is hilarious though. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that story with us. I'd like to bring up another storyteller. This is a person near and dear to my heart. Please give it up for Debbie. Please give it up for Debbie.
The title of this piece is My Tune of Miracle. The summer going into 4th grade was just awful. My pet rabbit died. My baby brother was in the hospital. Even worse, my parents moved our family from the familiar east side of Newtonville to its more uppity west side. My new elementary school smelled like asphalt and turpentine, and I had been dumped into Mrs. Cohen's 4th grade classroom. But here was the most worst thing of all. I was the new kid in the neighborhood. All the summer's upsets had turned me into an emotional mess. As always, I was habitually hopeless in arithmetic and predictably uncoordinated in every gym activity except square dancing. At least I had a good singing voice and a passable personality. Every day at 3 o'clock dismissal, I breathed a huge sigh of relief as I trudged home along 2 lonely miles, retreating to my family's dachshund, Willie. Willie and I would snuggle together on the dining room carpet in a patch of late October sunlight, and I would pour out my woes and mourn the loss of my comfy old school on the other side of the world, the place where I knew everybody, where kids accepted me for who I was, where I had been secure, admired for my performing talents, where I had won my 9-year-old social stripes. And suddenly I was the new kid. I had never been a new kid before. Nobody knew me. Here, I had 0 friends. Girl Scout meetings hadn't begun in my new neighborhood yet. So Claflin School's stinky asphalt playground was the only place where I could hope to find friendships. But even that was a problem. Oh yes, it was. Because there, on that smelly, black, grassless playground, the game du jour was always the same. Dodgeball. Dodgeball was chaotic and terrifying and ratcheted my anxiety up to death-defying new heights. Always stupid, barbaric, dodgeball. Sadly, from day one, it had been painfully clear that I was a really terrible dodgeball player. Teachers didn't help. They were huddled together in coffee clusters and never got involved unless there was a fight. 3 years before, Lord of the Flies had come out. And now the book had come to life. Recess was ruled by kids. It was Peter Pan gone tragically wrong. The captains were always Lorraine for Team 1 and Kevin for Team 2. Kevin was nice enough, but Lorraine was brassy, bossy, and loud. She was a fiery, ironclad tomboy, and her competitive passion scared the hell out of me. Every game began with the same horrible ritual. Everyone knew it by heart. First, the captains took turns choosing teams, and of course the best athletes were snatched up right away. Second, out of 28 kids, I was always the chosen one to be last by either captain. Third, when I was finally the only one left to be picked, a collective groan of 4th grade dread oozed across the entire playground. Glickman. Oh. Fourth, the creeping horror got even worse whenever Lorraine was forced to choose me, and she shrieked the inevitable, "Oh no, not Glickman!" Fifth, and wait for it, I was inevitably one of the first kids to be knocked out of the game. Lorraine always screamed, "Yeah, thanks a lot, Glickman!" So now it's a cold, wet October day. Today I got a 47 on a long division test and a 62 on my spelling test, which means that I will have to face my father's wrath at supper. Worse than that, all afternoon Lorraine has been seething because at recess, her team had been saddled with me and we lost that day. All afternoon she has been furtively circulating snarky notes around the class like, "Glickman should go back to her wimpy old school," or "Glickman needs to take dodgeball lessons," and the ever popular, "Glickman should be called Kickman." Her 4th grade humor. I arrive home in tears. I tell my mother that I can't stand Lorraine's continuing humiliations and that I refuse to go to Claflin School ever again. Holding me close, she murmurs, "Okay, here's what we'll do. Tonight, I want you to call Lorraine and ask her to come home with you for lunch tomorrow." What? I can't believe it. My own mother is in cahoots with the enemy. This is treason. "Mom," I joke, "Lorraine hates my guts, and I hate hers. Why would I ever want to invite her for lunch? Giving Lorraine food in our very own home? How can you do that?" No. I know it sounds crazy, but this will work. End of discussion. So after supper, my mother gives me the class telephone list, and I call. Hey, Lorraine, it's Debbie. Debbie Glickman. Do you want to come to my house for lunch tomorrow? I can just imagine her suspicious, squinty little eyes as she says, well, what are you having? My poor heart is about to explode, and I squeak, tuna? Then miraculously she mutters, well, okay. Then I say, okay, bye. And my doom is sealed. At noon the next day, Lorraine and I walk silently to my house together. My heart and feet are beating a sort of pounding of a fourth grade funeral march. But after Lorraine takes a bite of her sandwich, her now sparkling eyes widen to twice their size, and she marvels, Mrs. Glickman, this tuna sandwich is wonderful. Honest, this is amazing tuna. I absolutely love it. Oh, Lorraine, I'm so glad you like it, dear. Wow, Mrs. Glickman, I'm not kidding. This tuna is really terrific. My mother croons. That's nice, dear. And I am speechless. Wait, what just happened here? Lorraine is being actually nice and joyful and excited, like the way she talks to her favorite dodgeball players. That night, Lorraine's mother calls my mom, tells her that Lorraine can't stop raving about the tuna salad, and begs Mom to give her the recipe. My mother says, I had no idea, Lorraine. I didn't do any fancy recipe. It's just canned tuna fish and a couple of tablespoons of Miracle Whip. Honestly, Pauline, I don't know why Lorraine is so crazy about it. So Lorraine's mother switched from mayonnaise to Miracle Whip. And from that very day, Lorraine and I became best friends. I guess my mom really knew that her tuna could whip up the miracle of friendship.
A little birdie told me that Lorraine is in the audience today.
Yeah.
Is that true? Oh, Lorraine, right here! Because of the miracle. Now, we're going to have to do a live fact check. How correct was her story? Was it good? Oh! Okay. Stay tuned for next week when we have Lorraine. Come on, advocate for yourself. Oh, that's hilarious. Welcome. Thank you for being here. My friends, we have another storyteller, and then we're going to take a brief intermission. But please give it up for our next storyteller, Chris. Give it up for Chris.
Can you hear me now? All right, here we go. Hello. So a little about me. I'm a caretaker. Anybody here fall into that category?
Yep.
Fun, isn't it? Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm personally not the general average run-of-the-mill type caretaker. I'm the super duper kind.
I began to develop my caretaking skills as a child and eventually developed into my career. I started as a special education teacher and I worked with kids with behavior problems. After a few years, I said, not doing enough, I need to help them more. Went back to college, and in 1988, got my degree in Master's in Social Work. Woo-hoo! Yeah, baby. So, of course, a paid career wasn't enough for the super duper deluxe caretaker that I am, so I found a number of volunteer roles to fulfill this life mission, in addition to, of course, taking care of my family and friends. I thought today I would share one of my most profound experiences that I had as a super duper deluxe ×3 caretaker. So the date is September 11th, 2001. I am driving in my car down Route 146 towards Worcester, Mass. On the radio, they're talking about a plane hitting the trade towers. I thought it was a story like War of the Worlds with H.G. Wells. Then they start freaking out about other planes crashing, and then they say a second plane hit the second tower, and I'm like, this is not funny. The way the brain rationalizes to make sense of the incomprehensible is amazing. Anyway, at some point it hits me, this is not a joke. Over the next few days, I was glued to the TV. As I watched, all I could think about were the people who were left behind. The ones who had friends and family in the tower, the ones who were also watching in horror as the crashes and the collapses played over and over on our TV screens. I remember feeling shocked, watching in horror as people jumped out windows. I felt powerless, but I also felt driven to find something, some way to do something to help, any way I could, somehow. The Red Cross was asking for volunteers, and I called to see what I could do to help. As an experienced social worker, I am able to get on a mental health team. The disaster was going to be lasting for months. We were fast-tracked through the training, and I volunteered in the offices during the day. Fast track means that I took about 10 classes in the course of a couple of weeks versus taking a few months. By November, we were getting ready to deploy to New York. I think, great, super duper deluxe ×3 ultra caretaker is off to help. Then, on November 12th, American Airlines Flight 58, that was surprising, all right. American Airlines Flight 587 crashed. I've read this so many times, at 9:16 a.m., 2 minutes after takeoff. The plane was on its way to the Dominican Republic, and it crashed into Queens neighborhood. All 260 people aboard the plane were killed, along with 5 people on the ground. The state of New York was putting together a memorial service and for the surviving families, and I was transferred to that disaster. So I boarded a plane in Rhode Island, arrived in New York, and was put on a team with 10 other mental health workers. We eventually named our little group the Drat Pack. We were the Disaster Response Action Team. On our first day, we were sent out to Queens. Our job, canvassed the neighborhood where the planes crashed. We went door to door with a partner, offering support to the residents. I learned that this neighborhood was composed of families, many of whom were firefighters that were lost in the towers. There were 111 children who were left without a parent in this neighborhood. I heard stories of adults and children headed out to work or thinking they were again under attack. The terror as the plane headed directly for them and at the last second veered and hit a house of a well-known, well-loved family who were pillars of the community. I saw the remains of their house. A chimney and front steps that led to nowhere. Sorry. Okay. The burned out cars on the street with their tires melted to the asphalt. I was welcomed by this neighborhood. I felt the grief and loss of so many of them that they had experienced both individually and as a community. I was welcomed into the home of strangers and left these homes and the neighborhood with hugs and tears and a deep sense of connection and such awe at the resilience I found. You gave our co-responders support, and from the intensity of this experience, the Drat Pack was formed. The next day was the memorial service. Many of the passengers lost in the crash were from the Bronx. My team and I took the subway to the Bronx and assisted in loading families onto the buses, and then headed to Long Island for the service. A mental health worker, a chaplain, and a nurse were supposed to be assigned to each bus. My bus only had myself and a nurse, and neither of us spoke Spanish. My bus was composed of 5 different families, all who were immediate family members of somebody who died. I remember I needed to give some information to the folks on the bus. I wasn't sure they all spoke or understood English. Being a bit flustered at having to speak, I asked if someone didn't understand English to raise their hands. Duh. I immediately realized the foolishness of my question and got a volunteer to translate for me. First stop, Long Island, a memorial service. Families are ushered off the bus to an outdoor seating area with a long line of porta potties. Politicians and chaplains spoke, families cried, some screamed and wailed, and flailing their arms and their bodies, throwing themselves while sobbing. Staff would run over to assist, chairs were getting knocked over in the process. Having been raised in an uptight WASP family, this physical display of grief was much different than the stoic face we put on things, hence the crying now, 20 years later. When the service was over, we were herded back to our assigned bus and provided with plastic containers containing lunches. The next stop, the site of the crash in Queens. We sat in lines in the parking lot and then sat in line on the road to the site. On buses, several hours, no toilets. People had to get out of the bus and pee in the parking lot while family members held up coats around them to give them some privacy. Some used the empty containers right there on the bus for lunch and pee right there. In the meantime, families cried and supported one another. I worked extensively with one family who lost their mother in the crash. I spoke at length with her teenage daughter, who was experiencing severe guilt over the arguments she had had with her mother in recent months, and even on the day the mom had left in the plane. Her mother's remains had not yet been identified. Many had yet to be identified in the ash and the dust. When we finally arrived at the site, it was dark. It was a logistical nightmare. Blazing spotlights lit the area, and a cordoned off path created a loop for the families to follow through the crash site. There was nothing here but piles of dirt, and most of the debris had been cleared away. My teenager clings to me as we walk. In her mind, her mother is still here in the dust. My arm around her waist, she leans into me. She spins and sobs on my shoulder, shaking. Her sister encircles her with her arms from behind. Her knees weaken and I hold her tighter, keeping her upright. Over her shoulder, I see a woman from the government uniform walking towards us. Catching my eyes, she says, "Keep moving." The incredulity must have really shown on my face, because now she's threatening to get an ambulance and take my teen away. Really? I can't believe it. I yell at the woman, "Leave us the hell alone." And this girl's mother just died. She's right here, right where we're standing. Unfucking believable. We come out of the loop and head back to the bus. I realize something absolutely stunning is happening. Just thinking about this still gives me goosebumps. The families in the neighborhood, the ones who had just lost so many of their own, were outside, lining the sidewalks. Many of them opened their homes to provide bathrooms. Some set up little tables and were carrying baskets, handing out water and food and love. After a day of chaos, this human reaching out to human leaves me in awe. This is who we are as human beings. This shared experience of grief and love and resilience. We eventually made our way back to the Bronx, and the Drat Pack headed to the subway to return to our hotels. We still had our Red Cross vests on, which normally we wouldn't do, but in our exhaustion, we didn't think about it. Back in the city, we were verbally accosted by somebody berating and swearing at us for being Red Cross workers and not helping them enough and stealing all the money that was donated. This was such a stark contrast to what I had experienced all day. I kept my head down and I walked on, making a beeline to my hotel room and the sanctuary of my room. It was just suddenly all too much. When I get to my room, I leave the lights off, strip off my clothes, and take an actual bath in the tiny hotel tub. My whole being was overwhelmed and overstimulated. Frustrated by the tiny tub, I got out because I couldn't submerge. And so I get out and I go sit on my bed in the dark, naked, and cry. My thoughts eventually shift. Tomorrow, this super duper deluxe ×3 ultra fantastic caretaker extraordinaire is heading to 9/11 response to do it all again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for sharing that story and for the work that you did. Folks, we're going to take a brief intermission and we're going to come back and hear some more stories. Please use the bathroom to the bar. I'm feeling very emotional, as you can tell. As a caretaker myself, it's home. And I just really admire. Let's give another round of applause. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you so much. experiencing themselves.
Don't cross them lines. What you like, what I like, that country must be right. Just listen until them nothing once in my life. Don't waste my time.
Everybody, intermission is over. It's about time for the cicada to resume. So please put your hands together. Welcome back to the stage, DJ.
Had a nice cry in the bathroom. Feeling good. How's everybody feeling? You feeling good? All right, good. Awesome. We're going to bring 4 more storytellers up. The next person that we're about to bring out is sort of the, well, not sort of, he's the creator of this. And he's going to share a story with us. This is, you know, our 4th one, like I said before. So please give a warm round of applause for Randy.
I want to to start with a quick question before I get to the story. It's a hypothetical question, so no need to answer, but it is relevant to what I'm going to talk about. Say someone told you they were going to give you a life-changing amount of money to kill a very bad person. Well, that's what the story's about. So in 2006, the United States economy had hit a bit of a sad move. I know 2008 is the year that a lot of people think of for that, but 2006 wasn't great. I, like so many other Americans, was out of work. And so naturally, I turned to Craigslist. Now, before you turn up your nose at the idea of a Craigslist-fueled job hunt, keep in mind this was 2006. And back then, people used Craigslist for more than hand jobs and free ottomans. I should know I did get a free ottoman on Facebook Marketplace a few months ago, and I didn't see any hand jobs. One ad I came across on this hunt was very unusual, and having plenty of applications that contained the words, "Please find my resume attached," and ended with a "Thank you for your consideration." I click on the ad that says, "Have a strong opinion about the death penalty?" And all they want is a letter describing what you believe regarding the death penalty and why you believed it. And I decide to respond. And I write why I do not believe in the death penalty, and that's not anything I'm going to get into here, but we can get into it later if you want. A couple of days later, I hear back from two of the submissions I had sent in, and one of them was one of those "thank you for your considerations," but the other was the death penalty inquiry. And so, curious as a cat, I decide I would indeed check out this unusual offer, and I set both of these interviews back to back on the same day. So a couple of days later, I hear back from two of the I just read that paragraph, excuse me. On the day of the interviews, I completely flubbed the first one, but that's okay. I still have my mystery death penalty situation on the table. Will I be a part of some panel, I wonder? What could this possibly be? I'm actually a little more nervous for this jump into the unknown than a normal interview. And when I arrive, they usher me into a waiting room. It's not a bad little waiting room. There's granola bars. These were the fancy Nature Valley kinds, fancy in my mind. Mini bottled water, so you know it's fancy. And there's a bunch of other people, different age groups, reading magazines, doing usual waiting room activities. And every now and again, someone is asked to walk out of the room by a woman wearing a headset. And then eventually, it's my turn. We walk down a darkened tunnel into a room with blinding lights, stage lights. There are cameras and various people in the shadows, but only two people in the light. They're sitting behind a table, a man and a woman. And the man speaks with a British accent, but I think it sounds fake. I'm instructed to sit in what looks like, and this is true, a mock-up of an electric chair. And then the interview begins. They give me this following rundown. A man has murdered his family and is now on death row. They have worked out a deal to conduct the first ever execution on television, and they're looking for their host. And this is a funny way to go about it, I think. They continue that they already have Carmen Electra, and she's not a name that people talk about a lot, but in 2006, Carmen Electra was about as big a get as you could get. It's true, yes. The similarities of her name, Electra, to the word electric, the type of chair I now find myself sitting in, are not lost on me. And I politely begin to tell them no, that I don't want to kill someone on TV. But this man cuts me off and he says, "We'll give you a lot of money." His accent was a little better than mine. I say, "It's very generous," but he cuts me off and says, "It is very generous." The woman, seeing the look of equal amounts of doubt and surprise on my face, offers that he's a bad man. I informed them that I believe what they are attempting to do is completely illegal. To my understanding, you cannot show someone's death on television. Already, though, I have picked up that there's something awful about all of this. They tell me that they've done this show in England and it was a hit there, and that they should have no problem putting the show on in the States. I counter that I do not believe England even has the death penalty. And then I smile. And then they smile. And we just get into it and we start going back and forth. I say, hey, so what did this guy do? And they say, kill the family. And I ask how. And the British guy goes, shove the pizza up the dad's ass. And I don't even stop. I say, what toppings were on it? And we continue. And we're all barely stifling this joyful laughter at how impossible this whole crazy situation sounds. Of course, this is not a real show. This is a prank show, and I am the pranky. This whole thing ends up being a lot of fun, and I thank them for the most entertaining interview I've ever had. And I even agreed to cut a promo. I'm going to do a little bit of it now. It's very embarrassing, but the video doesn't exist online anymore, so I have to do it for you. In this promo, I pretend to get electrocuted while enticing an audience of would-be viewers to watch the show. It goes a little something like this. Do you want to see the guy fry? It haunted me for a while when there was a recording of that. So a few months later, I've forgotten about this odd prank show experience, and I'm now gainfully employed. It's a Sunday, and I'm out looking for a place to grab lunch with a few friends. That's something you can do when you have a paycheck. And that's when I get the call. It's from MTV, from one of the production assistants. She tells me that the footage of me will be in the premiere episode of a show called BSTV. And she tells me they can't find my waivers to use my footage, but that if I sign and fax back a copy attached to an email that she just sent over, I will be in the show. And not only that, MTV will pay me $100. It was 2006, that's like $110. I consider this. $100 would be nice. The show is fun. But what if I look especially dumb? Again, the visions of the electric chair promo are dancing through my head. I think I'll pass that kind of repeat. And she tells me, you can't pass. No one passes. And I thought, okay, well, I do. And she says, okay, we'll give you $200. And again, I politely decline. And then she confesses something. The show has already been edited, and the final version is good to go, and they need my footage. And there were so many people in this waiting room, I think, why do they need my footage of all footage? She tells me, okay, $500, we can do that. Does that work? And I tell her, again, I'm okay. I'm going to continue to pass. And she says, let me get the director. And she puts the director on the phone. And this guy starts buttering me up. He says to me, do you know who Adam West is? And then he continues, you have all the presence of a young Adam West. He says, my facial expressions are priceless. And for some who might not know, Adam West was the person who famously played Batman in the 1960s television show. And frankly, I can see it. But this still does not get me. He says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay you $1,000. $1,000! Now that's a lot of money, certainly. But I'm already working, and I just don't need the money. I have 3 roommates. My rent is incredibly cheap. I'm even saving money. $1,000 is not going to make or break me. And then he says, really? We paid Dennis Rodman $1,000. Really? You want more than Rodman? Again, this is a guy in 2006. Fine, he says, and he keeps going. And finally, he's offering me $1,500, $1,500. And he tells me they need my footage because all of the people that they brought in for this show, I was the only person who ever told them I wouldn't do it, that I wouldn't kill the man. Even before I figured out it was bullshit, I still was turning them down. And they need that part for my footage just to show that someone would actually say no in this situation. And I'm shocked at this point that I'm the only one who wouldn't do it. But all the while, my friends are waiting for me for this lunch, and I think I've been very polite. And then I get firm and I said, no, that isn't it. And I hang up on him. And I'm baffled by the fact that I was the only one who turned them down, and now here I am doing it again. Yeah. Now, it's one thing to turn down fortune and glory to compromise my values, but it's another thing to turn down $1,500 because I don't want to look silly. And yeah, I may be gainfully employed, but my laptop was getting really old. And thinking about it, I could certainly use that new laptop. So I tell my friends just one more minute as they wait for me for lunch, and I call my grandparents, explaining the situation, asking what they would do, as I feel like they have a good compass on doing what's right in life, not to mention a lot of experience. They immediately say, "Take the money." And I say, "Yeah, that's what I thought." And then I tell them, "I'm going to get $2,000. MTV can afford it." And sure enough, MTV could afford it and paid me the $2,000, in which I bought that laptop. And when I saw the show, it was only about a minute of me on camera. And sure enough, I was the only person to say no. And none of the people they showed were even in the waiting room where I was there. So apparently, even with a lot of money on the table, and my own show with the Carmen Electra on the table, I now at least know what I would do in one hypothetical situation I would not do.
Randy and I are good friends, so I've heard that story before, but I wanted to make a note that I call the band name Hand Jobs and Ottomans. That's mine, so don't even think about it. Anyway, please give it up for your next storyteller, former house team improviser at Kismet. Please give it up for Kevin. Give it up for Kevin.
I too am going to tell a story. So, on a blisteringly cold winter night, I was in Webster Square package store in Worcester, Mass. Because I needed vodka. Sometimes I only wanted alcohol, and I kind of roamed the aisles and marveled at the possibilities I could get. Because liquor stores were like kind of candy shops with shiny things to try, even though taste was never of a huge importance to me. I was just as happy drinking a fancy cocktail as I was drinking straight $10 vodka out of the bottle. But tonight I was on a mission. That's a correct reaction. I went straight to the front left aisle, grabbed one of the big plastic bottles from the bottom shelf without even looking, took it right to the cashier as I'd done countless times before. Webster was my favorite liquor store because it was a 5-minute walk away from my apartment, which is perfect for when your girlfriend tells you not to drink, but you want to sneak a couple Four Locos anyway. I was at the register, and all I had to do was pay, and I could leave with my prize, but I was having a problem because my hand was shaking too much to get my card in the machine. I grew rapidly more self-conscious as my Bank of America debit card rattled around impotently in my hand. And suddenly I heard something that made my heart stop. The cashier goes, "Hey, you're shaking too much. Is that from the cold?" Liquor store cashiers are the only people I let see me like this. It's a rare intimacy only shared with them, but what's even more rare is for one of them to notice and comment on it. I go, "No, this is just something that happens sometimes." He shrugs. And finally, I guide my card in with both hands, and I left with my remedy. Later on, I would think it a little ill-mannered to ask about the shaking hands of a young man he sees in this store every few days. But I didn't feel those things as I walked back out into the bitter cold. I felt the heavy and familiar weight of shame. I don't want to spoil the story, but I don't drink now. Thanks. That's fine. It'd be kind of wild for me personally to get out on stage and be like, "Hey everybody, I had a serious problem and I still do." I'm okay now, so the story can feel okay to hear. I think the best part of being sober is that it helps you realize what's really important to you. They say addiction is losing everything for one thing, and recovery is losing one thing for everything. I used to think that without alcohol, I wouldn't have anything else to do. Like I spent so much of my waking hours drinking that it just felt like there was this void of time that I had to fill. But in exchange for that, I learned how much I love skateboarding. I got to perform improv here on this stage. I I journaled, I exercised, I met people, I went outside. Nowadays, people are like, have you tried this double IPA Pilsner Tall Boy Stout? And I'm like, have you tried tennis? It's beautiful. You go from a place of not seeing a way out to meeting a new, better version of yourself, and you surprise yourself every day. I think the worst part about being an alcoholic is that it doesn't really stop. Like, the work gets easier, but it doesn't cease. I feel very lucky I've had so much going for me in sobriety that the draw to relapse has never felt very threatening, but it's always there. You dream about it at night, it pops into your thoughts during the day. When I think about relapse, I imagine it's like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff looking down over the edge. My fear is not that I will accidentally fall, it's how much I want to jump. I'm not afraid that I will slip. What scares me is that I would enjoy the fall for most of the way down. I feel great now, and I love my life. The thing about addiction is that the throes of it are cathartic. You do what you want all the time with no regard for how it affects yourself or the people you love. And the idea of relapse becomes this grim insurance policy where, although my life is great, if the going got tough enough, I could throw it all away and feel good for a couple days, weeks, or months before it catches back up to you. And that's where the real strength is. Every day you make the choice to ignore it, and every day it pays off. The final time I quit drinking, I woke up at 5 in the morning. The night before, I had a fight with my college girlfriend because I had hidden yet another bottle from her and gotten drunk once again trying to sneak it past her. I was in my college apartment, and I took the bottle and sat on our blue Walmart couch in the living room. And my roommate's cat, Egg, walks out into the living room with me. He's a big black and white cat who's equal parts cute and dumb. He sat on the floor next to me, and I think he knew what was happening and wanted to be my last drinking buddy. Things had gotten so bad, I didn't care that it was obvious I had a problem. I didn't care how much it was making me I didn't care how it was making me feel, but those things catch up to you eventually. The lying, the paranoia, the withdrawals, the swaths of memory loss, drinking before work so your coworkers don't see your hands shake. The nights I would wake up from a binge having missed some kind of important obligation and trying to type an apology text on a phone screen that won't stop swaying. Pretending to be okay in public because the worst thing you can imagine is someone realizing there's something wrong with you and wanting to help. But on that morning, 1,712 days ago, I surrendered to the help. Sitting next to a cat whose name was Egg, I took my final swigs and poured the rest down the drain. I haven't looked back.
Thank you for sharing that story, Kevin. The next storyteller that I want to bring up is also a good friend of mine. A lot of good friends of mine in this lineup. This community is ripe for that. You know, we all share a lot of time here in this space. We get to know each other, not necessarily in this kind of intimate context, but we play together, we laugh together, we cry together. I'm really grateful for that. And I want to bring up another storyteller. Please give it up for Di.
Hi. This story takes place in 1993. I'm sure that tells my age, but I think the huge font on the paper tells it more. I call this story George, the fish who demanded belly rubs. When people ask what I was doing at 18, I usually tell them I was navigating the twin terrors of college statistics and bad first dates. But the real shining star of my young adulthood was George, a simple orange fish whose life ambition was clearly to dismantle every preconceived notion about his species. Most fish are, let's be honest, decor. They're aquatic wallpaper. They provide serene background noise while you try to remember where you left your keys. George was different. George was an extrovert. He was a chunky golden star with huge impressive eyes that gave him the permanent look of a cartoon character who had just realized he forgot his wallet. He was, to me, a gorgeous chubby ballerina whose stage was a 10-gallon tank. George didn't just swim, he performed. And his favorite bit, the pet me jump. If I walked by the tank, he wouldn't just glide over. He would launch himself toward the surface and hit the lid of the aquarium. He was like a miniature, disgruntled submarine breaching the waterline. The purpose was clear. He wanted a head scratch. And yes, you could actually pet him. You dip a finger in, and George would press his big, soft cheeks against your skin, absorbing the affection like a tiny, waterlogged golden retriever. If you stopped too soon, he'd jump again, sending a furious splash and a clear message. The performance is not over, human. This went on for years, until the fateful morning of the Great Gill Crisis. I found George floating listlessly near the castle ruin, his usual aggressive charm replaced by the grim pallor of a fish who knew he'd peaked too soon. Panic set in. This wasn't just a fish, this was George. My dad, bless his heart, immediately sprang into action. Get the other way! He barked, grabbing the phone, while I fumbled for a large blue plastic container. Papi was already on the phone with the only place that could help, an exotic pet vet an hour away. The conversation, which I only caught snippets of, was legendary. Yes, a fish. A goldfish. No, not dead yet. Wait, fish CPR? The straw? The vet, surprisingly calm, had given us instructions that sounded like something out of a low-budget 80s movie. George, it seemed, was suffering from oxygen starvation around his gills due to illness. We needed to manually force oxygenated water over them. My dad, the hero of the hour, carefully scooped up George, now wrapped in a terrifyingly still towel, and placed him in the Tupperware, which was half filled with tank water. Then he grabbed a drinking straw. What followed was 5 minutes of pure, heart-pounding absurdity. My 5'10" father, the stoic provider who usually only dealt with spreadsheets, knelt on the kitchen floor, straw plunged in the water. and began blowing. He was effectively performing mouth-to-gill resuscitation on a chubby fish named George. The water bubbled furiously right next to George's motionless head. Dad's cheeks puffed out with effort. His brow furrowed in concentration, kind of like me, because I look just like him. If a neighbor had walked in, they would have seen a man furiously aerating Tupperware, breathing life into a fish who probably just needed more hugs. The silence was punctuated only by the bubbling water and our frantic breathing. Then, the miracle. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only like 300 seconds, George gave a small, almost imperceptible twitch, then another. He slowly, drunkenly righted himself. He didn't swim. He floated with the magnificent, wobbly dignity of a champion boxer regaining consciousness. Within the hour, he was darting around in his tank again, brighter than ever. He was restored to his full glory, the gorgeous, chubby ballerina, ready to jump for the next demanding audience. We had George for years after that until there was an incident with the water heater after I cleaned the tank. Every time he jumped for a pet, we just remember the day that Papi, armed with Tupperware and a straw, told the Grim Reaper, "Not today, buddy." This fish has a fan base. Thank you.
How many people had fish growing up? Did anyone have fish? I had a Japanese fighting fish named Nemo, which felt weird because it wasn't a clownfish. And then we got another one that was named Bob. We buried both of them in the backyard instead of flushing them down the toilet. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you. Anyway, folks, we have one more storyteller tonight, and again, I want to thank you all for being present for this and for sharing these stories and giving such a respectful space to these people that are coming up here and being vulnerable. Give yourselves another round of applause. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up our last speaker. This is Molly. Give it up for Molly.
A little bit? Yep. All right. It's January 2010. It's freezing outside. Like, think winter tundra, LL Bean parkas, toes numb, ground covered in a foot of snow. The type of winter you go home from work and you bunker down and you never leave the house. I've just hung up the phone with my mother. And on this day, I made a decision that would impact my life every single day for almost 15 years. You see, on this cold January Sunday, I made the decision to deceive my husband. This deception was calculated. Possible marriage ending, blatantly disrespectful, no going back deception, and to make matters worse, I lied. And it involved my 2 children, who were only 4 and 5 at the time. My 2 boys, I call them my fellas. They are complete opposites. They're only 11 months and 5 days apart. They call it Irish twins, but I call it only takes one time. My oldest son, Stephen, spelled with a B, and that is a very important detail about him. It separates him from the pack of PHs that are clearly not as classic with the fancy spelling. Stephen was born with an old soul that is warm and golden, gentle, quiet, kind, and he's extremely calm. He's a classic man. He was born with the deepest voice that sounded like a bullfrog. He would walk into the kitchen and he'd say, "Mom, can I have a juice box, please?" Just like that. It was crazy. He sounded more like Morgan Freeman or James Earl Jones, but he was only 5. His dry humor is the best part of his personality. He lands one-liners like a professional. He might get that from me. And he leaves you in stitches. Well, that's definitely him. But he's 5 years old and he sounds like he's a 50-year-old. Now, there's Sir Charles Reginald I. He was born 11 months and 5 days later. Like I mentioned, no woman is the same after that. Charlie was the cutest little hairiest baby, while Stephen, my James Earl Jones, read the encyclopedia. Charlie ran. Charlie ran into walls. Charlie fell downstairs. Charlie had a black eye every other day. Teeth through the lips. The kid has been exposed to more radiation than all of you combined in this entire room. He needed medical attention all the time. He was a typical boy getting into mischief. But Charlie's hilarious. Charlie's personality is huge. It's enormous. He's funny and he's goofy and he's laughing and he's energetic and he's 110% all boy. He lights up rooms with smiles and a big warm hug, and he always has a secret plan in motion to find a little fun or trouble. This has been going on since he was born. Stevie and Charlie were instantly best friends, and their opposite personalities complement each other and one another to this day. But as I mentioned before, I did deceive my former husband on a cold day in January, and I did involve my children. You see, my then husband didn't know what was about to hit him, and I would be lying to tell you if I didn't realize the impact this decision was going to make on the rest of my life. But I made a plan, and the plan was actually in motion. I made a frantic phone call to my sister, and in no time, she was on 95, barreling up the highway with her 2 kids in the car to get to me, to support me in these precious moments I needed her, and she ran. This is happening. It's gonna happen. It's happening now. It's happening. This is happening. In less than an hour, my 2 boys, James Earl Jones in his navy blue Land's End traditional winter coat, and life of the party Charlie in his bright red fiery jacket, my sister, her kids, and I were buckled up in the dirtiest silver minivan in town. We raced to the state line of Massachusetts, breaking every law, every speed boundary in every single town that we drove through, because there was no turning back now. Not now. It's happening. With $900 of cash in my hand, we are racing to buy a golden doodle puppy. The kennel is about to close with only minutes to spare. Charlie, he needed a dog, right? He needed a dog to run around in the backyard and play with him and, maybe lick his wounds. And Stevie, he needed a dog to watch movies and play PlayStation with and tickle her ears to comfort him. I knew what was best for my kids. And I made the decision to bring a new baby into the family, even if it meant my husband was not going to accept this fate for our family. I was deceiving him, and frankly, I didn't care. I just didn't. I didn't care. 7 minutes before closing, people. 7 minutes left. We're racing. And I get out of the car. We make it just in the nick of time. Now, picture this. We've got 4 little kids and my crazy sister who were losing their minds with excitement. Pandemonium was breaking out in the stinky minivan at that point, and the kids were out of control with squeals and giggles. Euphoria just oozed out of my messy, dirty mom van. I left them all in the car. This was my mission and my deceit. And I made my way to the front door. Okay, deep breaths. You might get a divorce for this one. He's gonna be livid, bad days are ahead. I opened the door to the kennel and it all happened so fast. In minutes, I was standing over this pen of 3 beautiful little golden doodle puppies. Now, I want you all to please keep in mind that I'm a good Irish Catholic girl. I was raised super devout. We believe in miracles, holy water, we sprinkle that on everything. We rosaries, we believe the water turning into wine, healings. We trust the good Lord sends us signs. So I believed when the gates of heaven opened up and the lights came right down on one single solitary baby dog that she was mine. She was definitely mine. It was a sign from the good Lord. I knew it. She was mine, she was ours, and she belonged to our family. So I tenderly leaned into the pen and I picked this little red-headed, fuzzy hair, dark golden brown-eyed baby girl with her perfect new puppy breath. You know that breath, the breath that you just nuzzle into. Billowy, soft tickle coat, and held her up to my face, and I asked her, will you be mine? The mission was complete. I hold her close to keep her warm. It was a familiar feeling I hadn't felt in a few years. I was a new mom again. She was my new baby girl instantly. I slid so gingerly in the car. You know when you pack your first baby in the car from the hospital? I felt just like that, so proud, but so gentle. And I slide gingerly into the car with a wide smile on my face. And Stephen and Charlie, they both reach out their hands to hold her at the same time. You know those precious baby hands? You know, the ones with the little dimples that are so sweet. And now they're the size of grown men dimples. They're gone. Their eyes lit up, and the joy radiated from every cell in their bodies. Pandemonium was setting in again, and the car was buzzing with excitement. We were all so thrilled. She was the final piece to our family puzzle. I knew the mission was a smashing success, regardless of the penalties I was just about to face when I got home. Our Goldie girl, she grew up alongside my boys in every way. She was just what the boys needed. I was right, of course, right? A dog to play with, a dog to snuggie, and a dog to love the harshest of days away. My ex-husband, he ended up taking to Goldie eventually, but not like us. Goldie was without a doubt the best deception of my life. I have no regrets, not a single regret, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
My friends, we have come to the end of our storytelling evening. I want to thank you so much for coming and supporting these people in sharing their stories. We've heard lots of stories tonight. We've heard stories about hazmat suits, addiction, being the new kid in a new school, 9/11, Craigslist jobs, weird Craigslist jobs, sobriety, fish performance, messy, dirty mom bands, and golden doodles. And it just makes me think, you never know what people in your life are going through. You know, maybe you're at a red light and someone cuts you off. Maybe you're walking down the street and someone runs into you. Maybe you talk to someone at work and they're in a bad mood and you take it personally. But you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what kinds of stories people are living in. And tonight was an opportunity for us to tell those stories, to hear them, and to clap for them. And for that, I want to give you a round of applause. Thank you for having the patience to sit and listen and to share this human experience that we're all living in. And I hope you all get home safe. Have a great night. Come back. We have shows every Friday, Thursday, and Saturday, in not that order. But thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody. Get home safe.